everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is the award-winning Fan Show. We are just in the shallows of Season 4 as we made our big season premiere last week with the official draft featuring Chris Cope, the comedian, Aaron Coscarelli, the NFL Network darling, and some of my good friends from the league, and it has not disappointed. Battle for LA showcased Aaron Coscarelli and Chris Cope. Chris Cope did have a come-from-behind victory. Aaron, of course, last night on the show as the Fan Show, going into its fourth season, turned 3 years old on Monday. That's right, it was September the 10th that we created a Twitter account, a Facebook page, and recorded a first ever episode, and man, was it awful. I mean, I feel like I can look back and say that now that we're in season 4, the show is 3 years old, that I can look back and I can say that first episode, that was horrible. That was really bad. It was me. I was sitting in the corner of our spare bedroom at our house at the time because I didn't have a desk or a table or anything set up. I just had my laptop, my MacBook, and the podcast kit. I had no idea what I was doing. I just downloaded the software. I had to update the computer operating system that I had in order to download the software. Took hours. Like, it was going to be out, I think, the night before, and then it ended up coming out the day of kickoff, right? It was going to be a Wednesday thing, and I had to wait until Thursday. And I sat in the corner, and I just started talking. I mean, that was it. Like, I would pick different songs to be kind of the intro theme song, and I just talked, and I talked quietly, and I don't think anybody really could hardly hear me. I didn't know how to do the gain or adjust the microphone or anything like that, and so I just talked. I talked a lot about Jared Hayne. He was the big story going into that year. The Hayne playing 49ers running back, kick returner from Australia, former rugby player, now back to rugby. I miss him. And talked about that, what people, fans specifically, look forward to in the upcoming season, and we were off. 35 minutes, or I think 25 actually. And then I said, okay, and that's all. And I ended it. And of course, you know, the next couple weren't any better. I did have a co-host for a while. I would get different guests. Mark Istook, one of the first big name guests that we ever had on the show. And then, of course, in the last 3 years, I've managed to interview just about everybody from NFL Network that doesn't have a gold jacket. So Aaron Coscarelli, Mark Istook, Colleen Wolfe, Adam Rank, of course, formerly Matt Harmon and James Coe. They are now with Yahoo Sports and Dish Fantasy Zone. Or DirecTV Fantasy Zone. Don't want to get that mixed up. And it's been so much fun in that 3 years. I've accomplished so much, but last night was the perfect example of what the Fan Show has come to be. Aaron and I said, hey, can you give me 15, 20 minutes? Yeah, sure. Let me know what works for you. We rescheduled, moved a few things around, but she is so great to have on. She's always a pleasure, and I love knowing someone like that can have a conversation with you. You guys can joke around, and you can turn 15 to 20 minutes into 25, and they won't even care. They're just like, yeah, no, anytime you want me back, let's do it. So tomorrow night, Thursday, we do our Fan versus Fan Show Pick'em. I did not do very well in those last year, looking to redeem myself. Kevin Goatee, you may remember him, watching comedians on Amazon, so we'll have him back. He's a big sports fan. I'm going to try to keep it clean for you, but he will be my first victim in Fan versus Fan Show. But tonight, Wednesday, it is not only Battlebots special, but of course Wednesday is a special night really any time of year. But for the NFL season, now that we're in Season 4, we're in the 2018 season, we're up and running. We recapped everything that happened over Week 1 last night with Aaron. It was so much fun. But tonight, we have the return of the list. That's right, the list of Fan Show.
You just made the list!
And the award that started it all, the award named after the original name of the show. It has not always been called the F.A.N Show, but it was the ButtFumble Podcast or the ButtFumble Show. It's been through a few minor changes, but it is the F.A.N Show now and forever, hopefully. And to pay homage, all right, to give back, to kick back, to throw back to our humble beginnings, the intro that we finally had recorded as an original by a buddy of mine is the outro now for the show. So the thing that you hear at the end of each episode, that was the original intro theme for the ButtFumble Show. And to sort of make sure that we never forget where we've come from, no matter how far we go, we have an award here on the show called the ButtFumble Award. It is a weekly award. It's for the moments in football that made you laugh, made you cry, maybe a little bit of both. And so you guys nominate, you guys vote. It is a fans award, but it is our award and no one else's. So we have a little fun here. The list, that's all me. I pick someone or something that I want to add each week to the list of F.A.N Show, which is just like the list of Jericho. Not as good, but still just as fun and entertaining. We will have a special guest, Rob Farrow of WARHAWK, Pacific Northwest's own. That's right, out of Seattle. We've got a local in there. Ish. We've got a local in the tournament. 4.5 hours away from Spokane, but who's counting? Who's timing it? Him and I spoke earlier, so we will play that interview for you. A couple of ideas came up, so Battlebots, powers that be, if you're listening, write this down. But yes, the list, the ButtFumble Award, and our weekly BattleBot special, all crammed into a Wednesday night. How are we going to make all this happen? Well, I can tell you right now, for starters, we need to get through today's headlines. And the headlines, of course, brought to you by Dynamite Enterprises. Customize your world. Hit up Ethan at dynamiteenterprises.com, and he is going to make whatever it is that you want to come to life in the form of merch or product. He's going to do that for you. He's going to do it well. I've seen the videos. He keeps posting the process, right? Shirts, embroidery, screen printing, tablecloths, and it's just like, he's a money pit for me. The show, we love doing business with him. He is a proud partner and sponsor of the F.A.N Show. Couldn't be happier to have a working and business relationship with someone like him. So seriously, if you need quality product and you need it sooner than later, and if you need it at an affordable price, you hit up Ethan, you tell him the F.A.N Show sent you, and he's going to hook you up. Hats, t-shirts, socks even, right? Everybody's cutting off their Nike swoosh. He can get you socks where you don't have to cut off anything because they're going to have your custom design, your logo or your artwork, whatever it is that you need on there. He's going to slap it on there and it's going to look amazing. He's doing hats and another batch of shirts for me right now. Very happy about that. Very excited. So, Ethan at dynamiteenterprises.com, or simply go to dynamiteenterprises.com. You will not be disappointed. Headlines, not much. We pretty much went through everything last night, and of course we'll have our predictions, our pick-em tomorrow night with my special guest. So headlines on Wednesday are a little bit slower paced. Of course, for you fantasy buffs, your top 5 wide receivers from the week were, of course, Mr. Thomas from New Orleans, Cook from Oakland, Tyreek Hill from Kansas City, Jones, Julio from Atlanta, and Mr. Evans from Tampa Bay. I would assume those are not going to be on your waiver wire today. And it was announced, breaking news, that Josh Allen will start for the Buffalo Bills. It will not be Nathan Peterman in week 2. God, how quick of it. That's so Bills, isn't it? To have somebody start and then the next week it's somebody else. Like, he got week 1. That was it. That was all Nathan Peterman got. And I swear to everything holy and good in this world that if I see one more person tweet or post about how Nathan Peterman is an example of white privilege and why Kaepernick doesn't have a job, it's like, can you just let it go? Like, I don't care how right you may be or how much evidence you have. Sean King's annoying. If you ever followed his Twitter, he's annoying as hell. And it bugs me because I feel like he's moved on to, for him, probably better things, right? He's the face of Nike. He's making his money. The NFL, I think, is probably still paying him. Probably the 49ers. I get that people are upset that there's quarterbacks that they feel are worse than him that are still in the NFL, but I kind of feel like right now, like, he doesn't care if he's in the NFL or not. Like with Jared Hayne, okay, there's a throwback for you. Jared Hayne, his goal was to make it in the NFL. Didn't happen, though. And since then, he went back to what he does best, and that's rugby. And I feel like he's probably okay with that because he's very good at that. He's got a great fan base, loyal in Australia. And it's just like, how long do we have to have separation from something before we just let it go? I honestly don't understand why people have to keep it's like it's a scab. You can't let it heal if you constantly pick it off. You just can't. All right, that's not how it works. It's going to scar, and then it's going to be there looming for forever. Let it heal, folks. Like, seriously, let it go. The Kaepernick thing, he's obviously doing more Kaepernicky things, whatever that means. He's doing what he wants to do. And I'm sorry if people feel that he wants to be an NFL quarterback. I feel like with the last 3 years now, is that how long it's been? My God. He's doing what he wants to do. He's in a better place. So, I just, that's all I'm going to say. Get over it. I'm over it because what more can you say? What more can you say? So, moving on, that's pretty much the headlines, all right? Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot. Nathan Peterman gets benched for Josh Allen, which we all saw coming. I don't know how he didn't start week 1, but this is classic Bills. It really is. I mean, the Bills are going to bill, so yeah, that about sums that up. So let's get on to the fun stuff before my interview with Mr. Rob Farrow. First and foremost, the list of F.A.N show. Now, of course, this is not to be confused with the ButtFumble Award, because this is my personal take on the state of the NFL, its teams, players, and or otherwise. I think ESPN's announced team made the list last year after the first Monday Night Football game. The Patriots were the first ever name on the list of F.A.N show because of their they insisted on trolling the world with their big season opener, right? They had all this stuff going on. The scoreboard was the 28-3 from the Falcons, and they had all this production and this pyrotechnics and this concert, and then they lost like to the Chiefs, and it was bad. So yeah, they made the list because when you go through all that and you come up with an L and you're Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, yeah, there's no excuse. You're on the list, okay? So ESPN's announced team, with how horrible it was last year and this year too. I mean, but that's not worth putting them on there twice. Of course, the Browns have made the list because they're the Browns. So tonight, I looked at what I feel like, what's happening in the world right now. Aaron Coscarelli and myself talked about who is on the list last night. In fact, when I said, who do you feel, if you're one of these two individuals, who do you think feels more confident moving forward? Des Bryant or Le'Veon Bell? We both agreed Des Bryant because the Cowboys lost, and he is a free agent, yes, but we feel like even if it had nothing to do with the offense, that it made his stock go up. So he's going to find the right home for Des Bryant. He has his favorites, right? So no, it is not Des Bryant. It is not the Cowboys. The Cowboys were very, very close to making the list, but I don't feel that there was enough to justify putting them on the list just yet. Next week is a new week, though. Stay tuned. But you know who did make the list? You know what happens when you hold out, and you hold out for so long that it's not only hurting your own reputation, but it's hurting your team and their feelings towards you, regardless of how productive of a player you are, how outstanding you've been, how number one overall pick in years of fantasy you have been. It doesn't matter when you start to do more harm than good. But then a beautiful thing happens, and that's when your team seems to be just fine without you. So your linemen, they're upset with you. They don't care anymore. Your coach, he's not having none of that. And the rest of your team, the city, and the front office pretty much have called your bluff, and they put out a young man by the name of Connor in your place, and guess what? He did just fine. So Le'Veon Bell, I know how great you are, but at a certain point, you just have to cut your losses, tuck your tail between your legs, and go back home. If they'll even still have you in Pittsburgh, which right now, I don't know. But when you hold out and you think you're going to show the world that the team needs you so much, granted they tied, but given the production of the man who took your place, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be just fine. So you know what happens when you hold out and you think you're going to be smiling at the end of the day and then you're not? Huh? Do you know what happens?
You just made the list!
That's right. Le'Veon Bell, first name on the list of fan show for 2018, and I'm not even a little bit sorry because it's the truth. Holdouts are dumb. You need to just swallow your pride and do what's best for the team because it is a team sport. But you know how much you feel you're worth. And if the team's not going to pony it up, then you may have to go elsewhere. But yes, they tied. It was 21-21. But given how great Connor did, you're probably going to need to find a new home or come back home with a little bit of a discount. So, sorry, Le'Veon Bell, but you are the first name on the 2018 list of the fan show.
You just made the list!
Next up, you wanted it, you got it. It is time for the first ButtFumble Award of 2018. And this award, so coveted, so prestigious. It has had winners, recipients to the greatest of names and prestige like Jay Cutler, the Browns, the Bears, the Browns. Even Odell Beckham Jr. and Tom Brady have been awarded the ButtFumble Award, and we will have on the site a list of every winner from the show's 3 years running. It's 4 seasons now, and I tell you, you guys never disappoint. So we put it both up on Facebook and on Twitter, and the nominees were as follows. First up, and I feel like I should have a little drum roll here. Oh, I do have a drum roll. Nominees for the Week 1 ButtFumble Award are the Browns versus the Steelers, tying 21-21. If you're the Steelers, how do you tie the Browns? And if you're the Browns, how do you end your losing streak? You end it by not even winning. You don't even have to win, just don't lose. Tie. That's the way that you do it. The Bears. What else can be said about a team that got beat single-handedly, single-leggedly? Aaron Rodgers on a peg leg in 1 quarter. The 4th quarter, you had a 20-point lead, and you couldn't do it. That's bad. Oof. The Cowboys, right? Their decision-making, no more Dez, no more Dan the Man. And then they lose. They lost to the Panthers, which you could chalk up to. That's a tough loss, but they didn't really make it look like it was all that tough to lose to the Panthers. So then you have Nathan Peterman, who won and done. Week 1, and now you are done. I don't know how bad of a performance one has to have, or I guess I should say I didn't know how bad of a performance one had to have in Week 1. I repeat, Week 1, in order to get benched for a rookie. But then Nathan Peterman decided to answer that question. I don't even know how many interceptions, but he went like 8 of 15 or something. No, 4 of 15. And he had like 2 interceptions. It was maddening. One of the worst QBRs in the history of football. And you nominated, you voted. So your Week 1 ButtFumble Award winner is Nathan Peterman of the Buffalo Bills. You go from 1 to done on the depth chart for Buffalo. because you chose to go out there and throw it to everyone but your own teammates, your own receivers. You were the other team's MVP, week 1 being the Baltimore Ravens. So congratulations, Nathan Peterman. You are the week 1 ButtFumble Award winner. You earned it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to our commercial break here in just a moment. But don't forget, it is the season. We talk a lot of fantasy. We talk a lot of football. We talk a lot of both. And we talk betting here. And people ask me who I do my betting with, and I tell them my bookie. It's plain and simple. They are one of the most trusted names in sports to do your betting with. And remember, it's not just, who you bet on, but it's where you bet. So mybookie.ag, I can't say enough about them, and they say a lot about themselves, and I'm just here to say it's true. Oh, it's damn true. MyBookie is the place to go to make sure that you get paid if you win. So you bet, you play, you win, you get paid. It's not this waiting game. And you can bet on so many different things. If you're not the fantasy guy, if you just want to say, I bet that team is going to win, bet on them. Bet through MyBookie. They've got a promotion going on right now. In fact, if you use promo code F.A.N, F-A-N, then they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $1,000. So, like I said, where you bet matters. Why not bet with someone who's done all the heavy lifting and legwork to make sure that they are a credible site for betting? So MyBookie is the place to go. Use promo code F.A.N, F-A-N. That's MyBookie, M-Y-B-O-O-K-I-E. So where you bet matters just as much as who you bet on. You play, you win, you get paid with MyBookie. So don't go anywhere. We've got plenty more of the F.A.N Show coming up right after this.
You're listening to the F.A.N Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's the F.A.N Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazzisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It was like that scene in The Simpsons, like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo.
Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again.
So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body, right?
Yeah.
And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com, or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is the man from the Pacific Northwest, just like myself. He's from Seattle, Washington, the man behind WARHAWK. It is Rob Farrow. How you doing, Rob?
Doing well. I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a rare thing when I get a bot builder, a combat specialist in my own neck of the woods. Now, granted, Seattle and Spokane, still about a 4.5 hour difference there if you travel on the road, which most people do. But it's great to have a friendly face in the bot world up here representing the Pacific Northwest and representing it well. You had a hell of a fight this last week. How are you feeling about Season 3 so far?
So far, we're feeling pretty good. Last week, we fought against free shipping. It was an exciting match, went the full 3 minutes, and whole lot of fire, whole lot of disruption, so it was a lot of fun. Feeling good about where we are in Season 3 right now. We have some reliability issues in our first few matches. The nice thing about this season's fight card format is that you get a chance to fix the problems. You're not one and out. So the bot's now more reliable than ever, so we have to see if we make the final 16.
Yeah, and I think you guys certainly have a good chance. Of course, you guys, the season has already been taped. You guys know the winners and losers and everything. But one of the questions I've been asking my guests since, we've started to make that big push towards the 16, I think probably right after the Desperado tournament, is that, looking back on where we are in the season, you're watching yourself from a fan, from sort of a third-person perspective. In everything that you guys have done, do you feel you deserve a spot in the 16 as of right now in the season?
I feel that we're sort of on that cusp. We had a couple of convincing wins. Our fight against Axe Backwards was a lot of fun. We knocked their wheels off and knocked them out. And this past week against Free Shipping, put on a good show, a lot of entertainment there. Our win against Overhaul was less convincing. We had some reliability issues, and of course we lost the Brutus along the way. So I feel we're sort of on the cusp, and we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, no, of course, they said that there is a large criteria as far as it's not just your record that gets you in, it's also your, strength of opponent, victory, judge's decision, knockouts, which is pretty much the criteria that I would have had. I was doing, a weekly top 10 for a while there, but it's so hard when there's 55 bots and not all the bots fight each week. So it got a little hard because Tombstone was number one for so long, but then he didn't fight for 4 episodes, and that's 4 weeks gone by, a whole month. And these are supposed to be weekly, and no, it shouldn't dock Tombstone for not being having a fight aired in that time. But it got complicated. So even doing that, I do not envy those that are in charge of figuring out who goes into that 16. But I do feel, I agree with you, you guys have a strong chance of getting in. If there was something that you could have done differently in the season, or a different outcome, maybe a knockout instead of a decision, can you pinpoint a single moment that you feel would make you a bit more confident going into the decision as far as the 16?
Well, I think our loss against Brutus, basically on our first hit, we knocked him upside down and almost knocked him out, but that same hit knocked out a power link in our robot, shutting off power to half the side. And that was basically a design limitation that we had to do, since we only had 3 weeks to build this robot before the event. We had to kind of rush and get things done as fast as we possibly could. In my mind, if we didn't have that problem, we might have won that match, and that would have potentially made us 4-0 and given us a much better position going forward.
Yeah, you guys are kind of in that, sort of in the middle. You're stuck in the middle because you guys, I feel, have a very good, effective bot out there, a popular weapon choice with that vertical spinner. There's a few out there that look kind of similar to yours that are also doing very well, but they seem to have had maybe, I don't want to say necessarily a tougher schedule, but they've been up against some big-name opponents where you guys have sort of flown under the radar, and that could either be a good thing or a bad thing when it comes time for the judge's decision. But is there, let's play out a hypothetical. Let's say that you guys, don't get into the tournament, but there's a bot that does, that you feel you could have beat if you either would have had them during the regular schedule and maybe that could have made a difference, or if you had gotten into the tournament yourself. Is there a bot out there that you feel that way about, that if you given the chance, maybe, you guys would be the underdogs, but you'd probably come out on top?
I don't know. Some of the bots that we were most afraid to fight, the two bots there that we were most worried about were Sawblaze and Bronco. Both those bots, just because of our design, we didn't really have any idea how we'd beat them. Because the season is so long, there's so many fights, it was hard to keep track of exactly who had 3 wins and who had 2 wins and everything. I know a few of the builders kind of kept spreadsheets and kept track of everything. We were busy doing stuff when we were there, so we didn't really have a great feel for exactly what everybody's record was. You do kind of get an emotional feeling of, oh, this bot's doing really well, or you saw one particular fight where they did an outstanding job, and that gave an impression of how they're going to do. But yeah, I don't envy the shows decisions, decision makers on trying to figure out who's going to be in and who's going to be out. It's got to be a hard job.
Yeah, I have no doubts. I love how you're like, there were guys that were keeping track, but we were a little busy back there in the pit, which is, it's a beehive back there. I love the pit. It's probably my favorite area in BattleBots, just to see all the tinkering and everything that you guys are doing. Now, one of the suggestions that was thrown around on the show here, I forget who the guest was, because we were talking about that very issue. We didn't know whose record really was whose, or a leaderboard or anything. And, so many sports have a ticker at the bottom, or they'll show the scores, especially, NFL Sunday's perfect example. There's so many games going on that they'll have a ticker at the bottom showing the different games in action and what the score is, the quarter and everything. And then, of course, the upcoming matchups for later on in the day. BattleBots definitely could benefit from having that, even if it's not something shown on TV, because I know a lot of the fans are very intrigued to see, just where certain bots stand, because not every fight gets aired. But for you guys, as the competitors, there's got to be like a leaderboard or a ticker somewhere, in that arena that you guys can constantly reference and just give yourselves a bit more of a quick look. That way you're not having to rely on finding time to come up with a spreadsheet or a leaderboard yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It'll let us focus a little more on trying to make the bots go rather than trying to figure out if we're going to make the next round or not.
Yeah, exactly. So something to think about, but obviously it sounds like you're one of the builders. A popular opinion, there's still some that feel like, it was a bit harder doing the fight card season with season before the season format, where you have a regular season and then a postseason. But a lot of the veterans are very much a fan of, having more than just what could be a one and done fight, where before BattleBots, their whole season was the tournament. Now there's a season and then the tournament, and a few other curveballs thrown in there as well. So sounds like you're obviously a fan of the fight card format. Is there anything that you would change that with season 3, seeing it play out now, that you'd still keep it this way but maybe tweak this or that?
The main thing I would think I would change is that I think some of the fans can get kind of confused about who's in, who's out, what's happening next. And so the fight cards, although the builders had a kind of a feel for how everybody was doing, I think it's hard for fans, unless they're watching every episode and keeping track of things, to know who's in, who's out, or who's likely to be in, who's likely to be out. The super fans are there, but most people aren't. So I think, like as we beat free shipping in the last episode, if they had talked about, now they're 3-1, here are the other 3-1 bots, are they going to make the cut or not make the cut? And kind of have it be more of a lead up to the tournament, rather than just, somewhat random fights. Or at least the fan might see them as random fights before the tournament.
Yeah, and I understand completely what you're saying, because obviously you're going to know what your own record is, and you're going to know how you feel about each fight, win, lose, or judge's decision. And when it comes to the rest of the group, unless you're doing your own spreadsheets, as you mentioned, you may not know beyond yourself and then your own team. And then, of course, fans. If you guys don't even know, how are fans supposed to keep up unless, they're watching and they're observing and they're keeping track in their own time, which, a fan may have an easier job to do that than others. But I think what you guys in BattleBots and Discovery need is, like a weekly... this can be the bonus content, because I'm all for more fights, but this could be the bonus content where there's like an extra, instead of however long the regular showing is now, there's like an extra half hour where people just break down like, where we are in the season now, go over records and people, how they feel about, certain victories and judges' decisions and where they feel the 16 is. Because you're right, as of right now, Don Hudson in Lockjaw is literally the only bot in the 16. We don't even know what his seed will be. And so there's a lot of bots that feel like they're out. And, if you haven't won a single match all year, then it probably makes a lot of sense. But you guys won't know until they make that big announcement. So, yeah, it's a little chaotic right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think episodes are winding down. There's only a few left. So I think we're going to find out the answers pretty soon.
Yeah, and I remember I was there when they announced the 16. It was a big moment, and everybody was gathered around and they went through it, and it was very exciting. I don't know how they're going to do it for the actual, television audience, but it is something that obviously deserves a bit more production and flair because the whole season has been building to that moment to finally find out who's in and who's out, since it's not a, regular sport where you win your division and you're in. If you have the best record, then you have the best chance. Obviously your record helps, but, unless you're a tombstone or somebody with a perfect record that's won them all by knockout, then it might be a little bit more difficult to convince the judges that you deserve a spot in there. Even if you've won all of them, you may have won against, some of the bots that people feel a little less passionate about, like Battle Royale with Cheese. But hey, I certainly think WARHAWK has a great chance. What got you into bot building, and did being in the Pacific Northwest have any kind of influence?
So I got into it back in the old Comedy Central days. I saw a couple of episodes of it, and I sort of became obsessed about it. I don't have a engineering background at all, so most of my ideas were completely terrible. But my wife was very supportive and kind of humored me at first, and I built a little test robot and drove it around, and she kind of got into it too. And we've been building it ever since. One thing that we do is we run the regional events up here in the Northwest. We have WARHAWK is WAR stands for Western Allied Robotics, which is actually the Pacific Northwest Robot Club that we run at the events. And we put on 3 to 5 events a year up here with robots up to 12 pounds, and it's a lot of fun. We've been doing it, even though we haven't been actually building the full-size Battlebots the whole time. We've been building smaller bots and competing pretty much continuously for the past 18 years or so.
That's awesome. Like I said, I love that there's a bot local as it's going to get before I maybe try to build my own, or at least find somebody willing to build my own bot that I can call my own. But you guys have had a great season so far. I was so thrilled when I saw that there was a bot representing the Pacific Northwest, because it's, there's a lot of them down in California and Florida, as I'm finding out. And then, of course, you've got Yeti all the way up in Alaska. And that's close, but not quite as close as Seattle is. You guys have any sort of watch parties or anything that you guys do? I don't know how big the bot community is over there or in the Pacific Northwest in general.
Yeah, we've been doing watch parties at some local restaurants. We did one at the Sumerian Brew Pub out in Woodinville, and we're actually doing one this weekend at a restaurant called Pecado Bueno in Seattle. If you wanted to find out more, you could go to the WARHAWK Battlebot Facebook page and look at the details.
Well, hey, I'll tell you what, since you guys are so close to home, and I've been needing an excuse to come back over to that side other than to catch a flight out somewhere else, I think once the tournament is announced, be it the championship or one of the episodes in the tournament, I'd love to come over there and host a watch party for you guys somewhere. Could have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, well, Rob, season 3, only a few episodes left of the regular season. You're feeling pretty confident. Do you have a dream matchup that you didn't get to have this season that you'd like to have, either in the tournament or maybe another season that you're kind of eyeballing?
People always say that they either want to or don't want to fight Tombstone, and, the whole bot game is sort of a rock, paper, scissors game, and WARHAWK's design really is designed to take out bots like Tombstone. We had a special weapon bar just for him, so that would be a fun matchup if we can get that one.
Hey, fair enough. Well, here's to, season 4, where I think we're starting the hashtag We Want Season 4, and I don't think that you guys should be worried at all. Everything that I've heard on my end from people listening either to my show or watching Battlebots and everything in between, they feel like Discovery is the perfect home for you guys, and it's been very well received. The new fight card format in the regular season has been a whole lot of fun, and obviously you guys have one of the best crews anybody could ask for in production between Farouk, Kenny, and Chris, and then of course you've got Greg, John, and the rest of them that are BattleBots originals. So I think that you guys are in good hands. So I'll wish you luck. Not that you guys need it, but hey, enjoy the rest of season 3, and we'll coordinate something. We'll get something going on over in Seattle, and we'll have a little fun. All right?
Sounds great, and thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely, Rob. You take care. You have a good one.
You too. Bye.
All right, once again, I did want to thank Mr. Farrow for joining me here on this weekly BattleBot special of the F.A.N show. And, oh man, so much on this Wednesday. It was a lot of fun. We added a new name to the list of F.A.N show, a brand new ButtFumble Award winner. And no, it was not the Cleveland Browns. Shocker there. But next week is a new week. Am I right? You know? Sorry. I can't help myself. I know that Rob is going to listen to this, and he's already tweeted at me because he listened to last night's episode saying, how dare I speak such blasphemy about his Browns? He's like, they're undefeated. And I'm like, undefeated? They're not. Okay, they just haven't lost or won yet. So, you enjoy your happy medium there, Rob. You're probably that guy that likes his steak well done. This sounds like a Rob thing. Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to ask him next time. I was trying to think if there was any birthdays, like anybody that I knew well enough that today for their birthday, if they would answer the phone if I called. Let's see. Is there anybody? I feel like it's something that we haven't done in a while that maybe we should keep going. Like there's a few people. So there's 3 birthdays I have today. One I know very well, but a very busy individual may not answer. And then the other one, I haven't talked to him in a while, so he probably wouldn't answer. God, man, he was on the show right before the regular season started for the Indoor Football League. And the other's been out of the league for a while. So nobody today that I feel all that confident enough in calling. I don't even think I have phone numbers for 2 of them. Yeah. I don't even think I have a number for that third one. Well, tomorrow's another night. Am I right? We'll see if there's somebody whose birthday that we can call. Was there a birthday? I feel like yesterday there was a birthday that we could have done it for. Yeah, my man Chad. But Chad's always so busy. I don't have number for Taylor. But yes, Chad, it was his birthday yesterday, Mr. Columber, and he is a champion with the Carolina Cobras, so I hope he had a fantastic birthday yesterday. I posted on his wall a video of everything afterwards, his confetti angel celebrations. So hopefully it was a fantastic day for the Chad, because that's what I call him, is the Chad. He's a good guy, good people. It's good to know good people. Surround yourself not only with people that you believe will want to make you a better person, but people that you like. That's a lot of it. He's both of those, thankfully. So I'm very happy to have a friend like Chad. Tomorrow, Thursday, we've got a special guest, Kevin Gootee. We're going to do F.A.N versus F.A.N show. Pick'em, first round of 16. Looking to redeem myself. We'll see. It's a long season ahead, but we will have 5 games to pick from. Next week's already shaping up to be a great week as well. Next week also starts our new time, just because we have the ability to. So I'm sorry to shift things on you guys, but starting next week, the show will be live at 7 Eastern, 5 Pacific. 8 Eastern. Okay, we're going to try this again. It will be live at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. It'll be right before kickoff for the Thursday night game. Obviously, won't have any conflicts Tuesday or Wednesday regardless, but I don't want people's excuse, especially if they're with, like, you know, the network or whoever, to be like, oh, that's when the game starts. All right. So we'll push it back a half hour. So 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific will be your new start time of the Fan Show starting next week. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to follow us on all the major social media. Like us on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat. And then, of course, subscribe if you can't listen live, and that is on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and remember, it's all fun and games until you ButtFumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.